Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my tutorial on installing the Oxygen XML editor on macOS. So I'm recording this in anticipation of the spring 2017 semester. This is the end of the fall semester. And I'm hoping that this is a tutorial that's going to have a life of a year or so. So the exact versions of software that I'm using here are maybe the ones that you want to be using if you are doing this just after I recorded it. But there may be a new release of Mac OS, the new name for Mac OS X. This one is the Sierra distribution, which is pretty fresh right now. And when we get to the Oxygen XML editor, you may find that the version that we're installing, which is 18.1, it may not be the latest version, in which case, go ahead and install the latest version. Okay, and I'm going to keep this tutorial in play as long as it's a pretty good guide to installing the version that's out there. And then I'll record a new one. So, first of all, we need to find our way to the Oxygen XML editor. And I'm going to open my Safari browser. And it says that Safari didn't activate Java after it was installed. So I've already installed Java. And the Java installation is kind of good to have if you're at this point. But the fact is, the download we're going to use for Oxygen includes a Java install for that product. So I don't have to have done this. But if you want to get Java installed and it's not installed, then go find my tutorial on installing Java on macOS. So I'm just going to say OK to this. And it's not doing anything too big, so that's fine. Okay, so where do we find the Oxygen XML editor? Well, the domain name is oxygenxml, all one word, .com. So let's just go to oxygenxml.com. And there we are. And you can see right now the new version is 18.1, which is great. All right, so that's what we're going to install today. And you can also see down here, we have a bunch of icons, one associated with each of their product bundles. And it just so happens the one we want is the XML editor. And these icons are typically clickable. So what I usually do is I click the one for XML editor, and that takes us a little ways down the page. And there's a download button there, so I'm going to click that. Okay, so that brings us to the download page, and the version that it's showing us is the version for Mac, because it does a pretty good job of detecting the operating system on your Mac. So this looks like the one we want. And you'll see here that includes Java SE 8 version 102. I just want to point out that this is not the latest version. And typically what these guys do, the Synchrosoft guys who make Oxygen, is that they pick a version of Java that is well suited to their product, and they have an arrangement to ship it with their product. So this is what we want. We want the download that includes just the version of Java that the the engineers at Synchrosoft like bundled with their product. Okay, and this is going to work on OS X 10.8 or later. So I'm going to click the download button. Now, a couple things happen. One is it starts to download the installer, okay? Two is it gives you a form that you can fill out. Now, there are two things that you can get from this form. And if you're new to Oxygen, you're going to want one for sure. And one is that it puts you on the mail list. And there's a lot of good stuff on the mail list. So worth getting on. The other thing is that there's an opportunity here to ask for a 30-day evaluation license key if you don't have a permanent one. Now, if you're in my class, you'll get your license key, which is one of the permanent ones. Well, it's sort of something in between. It has a long evaluation period. You'll get that from the website for our course. So if I'm teaching this course at UWM, it'll be on our D2L page. If I'm teaching this course at Illinois, it'll be on our Moodle page. And it is a string of text, just plain text. And after we do the install, there's going to be a place for us to submit that key. But if you're not in my class and you haven't already bought a license, then you probably want to use this page to request a license, in which case the license text is going to be sent to you in an email. Okay? And we're going to need that when we get to the other end of the install. Okay? So since I already have what I need, I'm already on the mailing list, and I already have a license, I'm going to not fill out this form. Okay? And I'm going to wait for the download to finish. So I'm not going to make you wait for the download. I'm going to put you on to pause. And when that's done, I'll unpause and we'll take up from there. So see you in a minute. Okay, well, time flies when you're having fun. The download is done. I see here I've actually opened up the downloads directory or folder, and I can see that we've downloaded oxygen.dmg, and this is a standard macOS installer, so we're just going to double click on it and wait for it to crank up. There we go. And with a typical installer, usually pull on the Mac, usually pull something to something, and here we're going to pull from the left to the right and drop. And that's going to cause some copying to go on. It's going to copy our files to applications. Okay, that's nice. All right. And we should be pretty well installed. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to close all my windows and see what we have here. Okay, so how am I going to find this? Well, it's in Applications. So let's go down and open up the Finder and open up the Applications folder. And it's going to be called Oxygen under O. And there's a folder here, Oxygen XML Editor. And there's the executable, Oxygen XML Editor. So I'm going to double click that and say, yeah, it's okay to open. Okay, and we see the splash screen, and then we're going to come to the licensing. Now, before I forget about this, I always like to keep my copy of Oxygen. I always like to keep an icon in the dock. So I go down to the dock, and I right-click on that icon, pick Options, and choose Keep in Dock. So now I don't have to go looking for that application all the time. So here we have the place to paste in your license text. So if you don't have a license and need a trial license, haven't asked for it yet, there's a button up here for you to click and request one now. And then it's going to show up in your email, and you could simply wait for it to come through. They come through pretty quickly. If you're in my class, you're going to have gotten the text file that I put up on our class learning management system site, either D2L or Moodle. And you're going to open that up, and the text that you need from within the email is pretty easy to identify. There's a marker that says it's the beginning of the text. There's a marker that says it's the end of the text. It's pretty forgiving. You can include the markers. You can exclude the markers. It works both ways. And you come in here, and you could simply right-click in the box and paste, or there's a cute little paste button. Now, I'm not going to do it in front of you guys because I'm not going to share my license with the whole world. So I'm going to put you on pause, and I'm going to paste in the license code and click OK, and then it's going to take me it's going to open the product. So I will rejoin you there. So put you on pause. I'll be right back. And as promised, here we are with the product open. Okay, and it's pretty much full screen. I could squeeze it a little bit. Okay, so this looks good. Now let's do a little demo, not a big demo. Okay, the master file support is disabled. Well, I think that's okay. We'll just click close on that. And let's get, it's as far left as that goes, as far right as that goes. Now, in my class, I eventually show people how to use all of the parts of this configuration that we're looking at here. But in the short run, I find that I'm quite often, I want to get a little more real estate. And these panels over on the right side, I don't use all that often, and especially in the beginning of my class. So I usually come over here and close them so that I just have this kind of navigation panel and the editor panel. Okay, that's pretty good. So let's create a new XML document. So go up to the editor, click on File, New, and we have a list here. XML documents, the easiest one to find. So I'm going to double click on that, and that brings up the XML document. And as you can see, it brought up some things over here on the right side again. It's a list of attributes, a list of elements. We're not going to be using those soon, so I get rid of those in favor of more real estate. And I'm looking at the type here, and the type is always a little bit weak for me. I like to bold it up. So I'm going to show you how to find the preferences and bold up your type or make it bigger if you'd like to. Okay, so in the Mac version, you go up to the menu and click on Oxygen XML Editor, and then choose Preferences. And then there's a place for Appearance, so I'll click on that. And then there's a little link over here for fonts. Click on that. And I can see that in this operating system, the default is Monaco 12. And Monaco 12 is not so big or so bold. So Monaco is I think it's a monospace font, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I'm going to go over to the Choose button. And I always like to use something like maybe Courier New. I know it looks kind of old school, but let's do that. So I'm going to pick Courier New. All right. I want to be bigger than 12. I usually go up to 14. And I bold it. And I say OK. And OK again. And that looks pretty good. Sometimes if I'm teaching a big classroom, I'll go as maybe as big as 16 or 18. But that's just when I'm trying to project to the back of the room. But that's pretty comfortable for my eyes. So a proper XML document has a root element. So we're going to call ours root element, just so we know what it is. And you'll notice that when we finish the start tag, there's an auto-completion feature that automatically gets us the end tag. That's quite nice. I like that. And then I hit enter, and I'm down on the next line, and I'm indented. So there's a convention that we indent XML content such that we can see its structure by looking at the levels of indentation. And there's a lot of support for that here. So we're inside the root, and I'm going to call the first one child A. It's a child A type element. And then there's another kind of child element, child B. Okay. And let's say in child A, let's say that just takes text. So plain old text goes right here. Okay, that's fine. And child B, let's say, has sub-elements. So let's call it grandchild C and grandchild D. I'm just using the names here because it sort of illustrates the structure. Okay, and let's say that those are two things that take plain text. Let's say I'm going to put my first name into grandchild C and my last name into grandchild D. And what I have here is a well-formed XML document. So XML documents have varying levels of goodness, okay? And the minimum that you need is something called well-formed, which means that your XML document conforms to the rules of XML document syntax. So here, when we type this in, the helping parts of the editor help us keep it well-formed. Okay, and if we want to check it for being well-formed, we can go up to the toolbar here, the kind of second toolbar, and then there's the icon with the check. And if we simply clicked on that, it would try to validate our document against the schema. Well, it's not really associated with the schema, so that's going to cause an error. But if we take the drop down to the right, there is a check well-formedness. So let's choose that. If you go down to the bottom, down here in the status bar, we get a green indicator. Document is well-formed. A nice thing about the editor is that it checks for well-formedness, and then later when you begin to work with schemas, it checks for validity. on the fly. Okay, so if you break the well-formedness of the document, it'll give you a nice little underline. So for instance, one of the rules of XML syntax says every start tag has to have an end tag. I mean, every element has to have both a start tag and an end tag. So if we go and erase this end tag, it's not going to like it. Okay, and it's saying, hey, down where we go to end child B, I thought you were going to end grandchild. So if we hover over that, it says the element type grandchild C must be terminated by a matching end tag, because we got rid of the end tag for it. And you can hover over this squiggly red line, or you can come down here and you can typically see the same message in the bottom of the editor. Okay, so I'm just going to go back up and I'm going to hit Command Z to undo. Okay, and the squiggly line went away. Another thing you can do is you can simply break an end tag by taking the angle bracket off of the end of it. So let's take that off. And you'll see that on line 5 here that grandchild C is being underlined because they can tell that's where the error is. It's got a bad end tag. So, and here's the message. The end tag for element type grandchild C must end with a greater than sign, delimiter. Well, that's good. Okay, so that automatic checking works for this well-formedness. Later on, when you begin to work with a schema, you get similar messages if you create a document that does not conform to your schema rules. And this can really save you a lot of time. So the only thing left for us to do is to save the document because it's currently untitled. And also you can see that has unsaved changes because there's a little asterisk after the name in that tab. So if you have unsaved changes, the asterisk appears. As soon as you save them, it will disappear. So we're going to do a save as. So I'm just going to go up to the menu, File, Save As. And I'm going to open up the directory system. And it has us working under the Oxygen XML editor. I don't want to be there, so I want to come way out here and go to Documents. Okay, and then I want to create a new folder in Documents. And I'm just going to say, call this Tutorial Examples, and create. And now we're in that folder. And then we're going to just call this my first document. And then it's already set it up to have the .xml file extension, and we want to leave that there, and click Save. Pretty good, huh? Okay, that looks quite good. All right, now we want to check a couple things here. One, well, let's check them as we do them. So I'm just going to close this editor, and I'm going to close the overall product. Okay, now we're here. Now let's go check the file associations and make sure that if I double click on a .xml file that it opens it in Oxygen. So I'm going to go down to the left here in the doc, open my Finder. Okay, I have my first document. Okay, that looks fine. Let's double click on that. And we can see that it's not associated with the Oxygen XML editor. And this is interesting because in previous installations, it would pause and give us the option to say that we wanted that association made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on to pause, and then I'll go find where to set that up, and I'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, so pause again, and I'll be right back. Aha, I'm back. And it turns out that was a false alarm. And this is one of the problems I have when I'm going back and forth between using this application on Windows and using it on macOS. And Windows, when you close the application, it's really closed. I mean, it's quit, all right? And the next time that you go to run it, it's going to fire up again. So when you associate a file extension like .xml with a document type, with the program, when you double click on it, it fires it up. Okay, in Mac OS, it will fire it up and open the application only if it's not already running. If it's running and minimized, like ours is right now, we can see that little dot under it in the dock. If we double click here, it will open the application in Oxygen XML. It just won't bring the application up and display it. So we have to go down to the dock and click on it. And then we'll see that it really did work. Now, if we actually quit the application fully in macOS by going up to the menu and clicking Oxygen XML Editor, quit Oxygen XML Editor, we'll see down on the bottom line that there's no dot underneath our application in the dock. It really is quit and not running at all. And in that case, if we see an XML document and we double click on it, it's going to both open it up and it's going to bring the application up so we can use it. So every once in a while I get fooled. Okay, so here is our document that we asked for. And I just want to show you one other thing, as long as I was referring to it. How would we associate another file extension type with the Oxygen XML editor? Well, you find a document of that type, and you open it up in the Finder. You open it up so you can see it in the Finder. You right-click and choose Get Info. And down here there's a listing for open with. I was in here before to see that, and it's usually not displayed. But when we display it here, we can see that it's already associated with our application. That's good. But if it wasn't, then we could go look for the application. And then if we want to do this for all files of this type, we also click on Change All. Okay, but I didn't have to do that because it was already associated. We had a false alarm. So that's it. We've got the Oxygen XML Editor 8.1 installed. It seems to be working fine. I wish you luck with it, and I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.